YouTube channel. It's your girl, Renee. We're back with another sports talk video. I'm back on the camera with my ponytails in this headscarf, this bow. This is what it's going to be. But I'm back on the camera though. So, yes. So today's video, yesterday was Selection Sunday, but I didn't post the video because there's a lot going on. And I wanted to get a lot of the facts, the information, the reactions. So I'm going to be dropping 2 videos today. And it's still going to be day 16 and 17. So this video is going to be about the number 1 seeds. So currently is a lot of controversy about the number 1 seeds. And if you're not in women's basketball, not even in women's basketball, if you're not really paying attention to sports, you're probably like, who cares? You number 1, you number 1. But no, the coaches are having a fit. Well, 2 coaches specifically. Here's a clip of Don Staley.
Gut. My gut was the number 1 overall seed because we put the work in. That's what my gut gives me. But man says otherwise, and I don't really put my faith in man. And so we'll play with it. We'll play it. We'll play the cards that we've been dealt. I'm going to play it. You know, obviously it's disappointing. It really is. I'd like to get some feedback on how they came to that conclusion. Because we put together, we manufactured a schedule that, if done right, it should produce the overall number 1 seed. But I will say this: we're going to make adjustments to our schedule in the future if the standard is the standard. If that's the standard, then we can play any schedule and get a number 1 seed.
And now here's a clip of USC's coach.
For me, I never thought I'd be a 1 seed and feel disrespected, but I thought the committee, I thought there would be very little chance we would be the number 4 overall number 1. And so, we've got a big game here on Saturday against UNCG, and we'll handle it accordingly. But you tell me if you think that bracket that we got should have been the one that it was. I can't speak for the players. I think they're excited to play, but this was not on my bingo card to be a little bit, frustrated after being a 1 seed, and it's not, an arrogance of any kind. I think there's a lot of really good teams, and you got to play the first game in front of you and earn your way from there, and that's what we'll do. But sometimes I don't understand people who make decisions in women's basketball and why they do what they do, and certainly with this committee, I would love to ask some questions.
So, if you don't know, from watching there, you can see a little bit of frustration. The number one overall seed is Texas. That's the number 1. The number 2 is UCLA. The number 3 is South Carolina. And the number 4 is USC. So, why the coaches seem to be in a tizzy, upset, mad, angry, frustrated, irritated, and also it was a video of South Carolina players not looking too pleased with their placement. Don Staley said, as in the video clip, basically that she didn't think that they knew they were on camera. Regardless, if they didn't know they was on camera, those were their true feelings about how they felt about the situation. Because if you on camera or if you're not on camera, if you're happy with your placement in the NCAA tournament, it's going to be more excitement. So that's just being real. So yeah, that's what that is. So we're going to get into it. In my opinion, I feel like UCLA, this is the order. We're going to keep it 100. This is the order it should have been. South Carolina, USC, Texas, UCLA. My opinion, South Carolina should have been number 1 because they have the most wins overall of the toughest opponents, basically. Like Don Staley set their schedule up so that they're playing more tougher opponents, so that when it does come to this type of situation, that they are picked number 1 overall because they have played and battled these opponents. Basically, Don Staley feels like they're not getting rewarded for their labor. Like they did their labor and they're not getting their fruits of their labor in the placement. But in my opinion, if you take a look at this bracket, which I'm going to display now, you see Texas got to go through death row to even get to where they get. They got TCU on their side. TCU is tough. They got Notre Dame, which Notre Dame just dropped down in the ranks, but Texas, if Texas is not locked in, how they locked in, Notre Dame could catch them slipping. TCU could catch them slipping. So I feel like, regardless, even if Texas makes it to the Final Four, I don't think they're going to win a championship because they're just going to be so defeated and so tired from the simple fact of them having to battle so hard. Like, they got a lot of tough people just in their bracket. So I wouldn't be that mad. But, hey, Downstairs still has the right to feel how she feels. So the order that I said, that's how I would order it, in my opinion, on how I feel it should be. Now, USC's coach, she too busy, in my opinion, she's too busy worried about Paige and them losing to Paige last year. Like, I think she's scared of Paige. I don't think Juju's scared of Paige, but I think she's scared of Paige. Like, they don't even have that many people. Like, they have some teams in their bracket, some teams that it's like, they're tough, but the only team that's in their bracket that's like a red flag, like if we doing yellow flag, green flag, like, oh, they green, that's easy. Or we doing like a yellow flag, like, oh, it might be a little tough, but we gonna have to lock in. Or a red flag was like, alert, alert, alert. UConn, of course, because Gino's, he's been there, done that. He's won national champions. He's had multiple success, and on top of that, he has Paige. But in my opinion, Juju's better than Paige. But if you have a coach that is coaching fearful of a certain player or a certain team because they're scared, that can cause you to lose too. Like, she should have no fear in her heart. You got Juju. Juju should be the National Player of the Year. Hands down. I don't care if they lost to UCLA in the championship or not. Juju is the National Player of the Year. She still had a decent game, but even with that game, through her whole course of her season, she's had an amazing season. She had an amazing season last year as well. So her having this season being amazing, she should be the Player of the Year. You have the Player of the Year on your team. Not only that, she literally brought your school up from ground zero to now 100. So you complaining, like, sis, you just got here. You just got here. Relax. Last year, you were just excited to even get in the tournament. You were just excited to be around the community. And now you on here talking crazy like as if you should be the number one seed and you of everything. But really, you just mad because UConn's on your side. Like, we got to slow it down. Slow it down. Okay? You got to reel it back in. Take a look at where you at. You the number one seed. Last year, y'all was number 2. I think y'all was number 2 in the 4th region, if I'm not mistaken. So you're leveling up, you're growing, you're taking baby steps, you know. So regardless, you're taking baby steps, and it is what it is, okay? For USC. Now, Dawn Staley, I understand why she is irritated. I would be irritated too, because she specifically sets her games up to play tough for opponents, so it's very evident that she is the best team, which I respect to the most fullest, because a lot of teams be ducking the smoke for certain stuff, and they don't want to play a lot of good teams. But I do understand USC, like, I can see how she feel that she should be above UCLA, because they beat UCLA twice. Even though they didn't beat them in there, they beat them twice. And if they play UCLA again today, I feel like USC will win. Like, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. But, you know, it is what it is. Overall, my opinion about the seeds, this video is just specifically about the number 1 seeds. Texas, and then that's crazy too that Texas is the number 1 of the number 1, considering the fact that they lost to South Carolina. And South Carolina was just number 1. They flipped the coin, first of all. That coin flip's still crazy. They flipped the coin. South Carolina got it. Okay, cool. South Carolina ended up winning the championship. I thought Texas was going to beat them. I'm just keeping it real. I'm standing on what I said. I thought Texas was going to beat them. They didn't. So it's like, not only was we just the number 1 seed in our tournament play, we also won the whole tournament. So, like, what's the discrepancy? Like, why are we not number one overall? I get what Don Staley is saying. Also, the players not having no reaction and people giving them negative feedback. They can react how they want to react. You can't tell nobody how to react. It's happening in a moment now and then there. If you're them, you wouldn't know how you would react. Like, if you find out you're not the number one team, you're number two, because you're in the 2 region. And you find out that you're in the number 2 region, and you done played these hard teams. You coming off a high. You coming off the SEC tournament. You just won the SEC tournament, and people was doubting you. I thought they was gonna lose. Just keep it real. People was doubting you, and like, oh, I think Texas is gonna beat them. I think Texas is better. Then you end up winning, and you come off a high, and then it's like, okay. But it does feel like Don Staley is always battling something. Like, something always like some backlash. So they're giving her backlash. But nevertheless, I don't know. Like, in my opinion, I said how I feel like the list should have been. And now USC's coach, I feel like she's doing a whole lot. Like, she's mad about Paige. Just beat her. It's very simple. You have the best player in the country on your team right now, if we're being honest. Now, AZ Fudd is tough. And now she got AZ Fudd to back her up. But you so fearful of Paige, you can't coach fearful. You're going to coach fear into your players because you're fearful. And at the end of the day, granted, if you lost to them last year, make a better, reroute, You got another chance. Calm down, sis. Chill out. But this video is specifically about the number 1 seeds. Y'all comment down below how y'all feel about these number 1 seeds. In my opinion, I said my list to how I feel the order should be. I understand why Don Staley is upset. I understand why USC coach is upset that UCLA is ranked higher than him. I understand that too. And the whole thing don't make sense, because the whole situation don't make sense. Because if you're going to say you're going to put UCLA ahead of USC because they beat them in the Big Ten, then you got to put South Carolina ahead of Texas because they beat them in the SEC. The math just is not math. So I understand why they're irritated and a little frustrated. I understand more of why Don's irritated and a little frustrated more than USC coach. But the math is not mathing. If you're going to put if you're going to put a team ahead, then that means USC should have been number 2. And then it's then it could have been a whole different conversation. But if you're going to put, okay, they beat them in the Big Ten, then South Carolina just beat them in the SEC, so they should be ahead too. But at the end of the day, I think that's just going to give fuel to South Carolina, even though Don Staley said in the clip, I don't want to have to do all that. At the end of the day, it's going to fuel them. And do what you will. Sometimes it happens, even in games. Referee might not be on your side. Okay, what you going to barbecue or mildew? You going to turn up or you going to pout? You got to pick a side. So, more of the story is they just got to pick a side of what they going to do about it. You can't do nothing about it now. You place where you place. But I think y'all got a easier side of the bracket in Texas. So, yeah, that's just my opinion. But comment, and subscribe. And keep tuning into my videos. So keep subscribing. We're on the road to 500 subscribers. Subscribe. If you're watching this video, subscribe. And like the video. And I'll be back with another video. Peace.